Hey guys, this is a production of the J&J Media, brought to you by Minute Peach Framing Designs and Gift Shops. What's up, guys? Welcome to the 13th episode of the J&J Sports Talk. I'm your host, Jordan Dorosic, followed by my co-host, Christian and Thomas. We got a lot to talk about today, so we're going to get right into it, and we're going to start off with some FTR NASCAR Heat news. So we had a Hall of Fame ballot come out with several of our drivers, and me and Clashin didn't get included in several of the ballots, but it was a fan vote to show who got into the Hall of Fame for the FTR League, and we tried so hard to get our votes, and we campaigned and everything. We got our votes, and once we both got into the Hall of Fame, they both said, we're going to change the criteria, and they changed it perfectly to where only me and Clashin got booted out of the Hall of Fame. So you tell me if that's fair, Clashin. You start off.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair. The only thing that frustrated me is, like, why couldn't they think of this before they added my name to their project? It's like, I was in the first group, we got voted in, and then they wait all the way until JWowws, which they should have expected a big campaign, because that's how JWoww is. He wants to win. So we campaigned for him, and then he got like 100 votes or something like that, 80, somewhere around there. Definitely record breaking for that ballot. And then they decided overnight, nope, we don't want them.
And we also have our insider, Shady. He was inside some chats and seeing their messages saying they did not want me to win, especially in the last ballot where I was in. And they were really campaigning for there's several other drivers that were on that ballot to boot me off, which they couldn't do, even though we had times 2, times 3 record amount of votes to the next highest poll that was out there. Shady.
Well, yeah. And like I told you guys from the get-go, when the whole Hall of Fame thing came out, I told you it was horse shit. Absolute horse shit. Okay, let's go off of this. I mean, I'm part of FTR, and I'm good friends with Billy, and I respect Billy. I have the utmost respect for Billy and a lot of those guys that are in there. But a lot of those guys, they don't like me. I don't like them. It's fine. Okay. The whole thing with this whole Hall of Fame thing is, to me, okay, and I'm the one that kind of came up with this idea just joking around. We were just joking around one day, and I said, yeah, oh yeah, he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And then they started talking about this Hall of Fame thing. FTR, we are just getting ready to start season 6. Season 6. I mean, to me, and you can't have a Hall of Fame. A Hall of Fame is something that resembles longevity, something that resembles something for a long time, accomplishments for a long period of time, not just 2 or 3 years. I'm talking about like 10 years. So to me, right off of the get, it was just horse shit, because everybody knows in leagues, guys like for me, for instance. I mean, I was part of I was part of FTR originally when I started in Heat. I left, I came back. And a lot of guys are like that. A lot of guys left for a period of time and it came back, or had things going on in their life and this, that, and the other. And, so when the ballots came out, and like Clash and said, he was on the first ballot, the very first ballot. So you can't tell me that the criteria wasn't set on the very first ballot. And, I mean, I don't know how it all came up, or who was in charge of the actual putting the votes up, or who selected the names. I don't know. I'm not into that. But everything, was just a normal voting thing until that last ballot. Now, when you got on that last ballot, JWoww, that blew shit right up, because there were guys, and they're you're kind of like me. You and I are kind of similar in this fashion, that many of those guys don't like you. You don't like them. I don't like them. They don't like me. I stay away from them. They stay away from me. It's a matter of respect thing. But they did not want you to win whatsoever. They were messaging straight off of the bat: don't vote for JWoww. Vote for this. Vote for that. Do not vote for JWoww. Vote for The main vote was for JD, which everybody knew JD was going to get in. And now JD would be somebody you would select it, because JD has been there since day one. he would have that kind of longevity into it. So I mean, in my opinion, I mean, like a person like JD should easily get on a first ballot Hall of Fame, but just because that. And what was kind of funny to me also was after the very first ballot when Clashin was on there, and you kind of made the and JWoww kind of made the comment there. It was like, yeah, well, what about prior champions? Because JWoww won the championship in season 4, I believe it was, in the A League. He won a championship in for A League season 4.
Yeah, I
And then there was
only ran one season, and I've won that championship.
right, and the reply was that you will be on a later ballot, which you were. So then, I mean, like Clashin said, I mean, it was a record number of votes that went. I mean, there was more votes for JD than there was for Billy or anybody else. There was more votes for you because I mean, you're campaigning. I mean, that's what it was all about. It was a competition in its own right because you have one side versus the other side, and I mean, it wasn't like a win or lose type of thing because it was just between you and JD. There was no other competition in it. Um, so to me, then after everything's done, then I don't know how it all came together. Now, I mean, like I said, I have utmost respect for Billy, and I love Billy to death. But you can't tell me that the criteria wasn't set originally. How were the names and who chose the names originally? And then who's the one? I mean, I guess Billy ultimately steers the ship. So I'm guessing, and he made the post that this was not his idea, the Hall of Fame and everything. I don't know how that came out. If there was a bunch of complaints, if there's a lot of people going to Billy, I don't know. But I mean, it was just a circus. I mean, it's not fair in any right because you're going to have somebody elected in the Hall of Fame first ballot. And then in the last ballot, and then I guess because a bunch of, and that's kind of this thing. I mean, a bunch of people in FTR, there's a group of people that if they don't like you, they all get together and they'll push you out, and they're just gonna kind of get their way. That's just the way FTR rolls. And I don't know if this was that a result of that. I have no idea, but yeah, man, and all I can say was just complete total horseshit from the beginning. I mean, once you get to like 10 years or 10 seasons, yeah, then you might be able to come thinking about something like that because you don't have the longevity. You don't have that that you just don't have it. So to me, it was, yeah, I don't know. But to go through, I don't know how many ballots was it, like 5, 6, 7 total ballots, or
I believe it was four or five.
4 or 5. They got a total of 10 guys in. 2 guys per ballot got in, so I guess it was 5 ballots. And go through all 5 ballots and then say, "Oh well, we're gonna change it." Okay.
Yeah, we're only gonna change it because this one specific person we didn't want to win actually ended up winning because he beat up all of us on the track, and he's still beating us off the track. So we're just gonna go do our one way this way,
There's something about JWoww and slow drivers. They just never get along. Like, we made a bet in Valor that you would have drama, but it never happened. You won that bet. But if we get you in a league with a bunch of slow drivers, there's gonna be trash talk and drama.
Yeah, you give me anywhere. You get me anywhere near a slow driver. There's their ego, their personality, their driving style. It just pisses me off, and I will just, I don't know. I just don't want to race around them. Like what Klassen just said. I'm racing around good drivers in Valor. Had no problem. Maybe had a few run-ins, but I apologized soon after. But anything outside of the racetrack, nothing. But you put me in a league with slow cars, slow egos, and you just see what happened with the, like, I haven't even raced in this league. I think they already had a whole nother season after us. Didn't even race it.
We're starting season 6. You won season 4.
Yeah, I got a trophy to prove it. I don't think many people have a trophy to prove that they're a champion in FTR, and they're already in the ballot for the Hall of Fame because they suddenly have the criteria. The criteria was you had to have at least 3 seasons. I ran 1 season. I won the championship in that. Okay, so I told Billy. I said, okay, so all I had to do was show up for 2 more seasons, start and park, and I'm suddenly. I could have started and parked for 3 straight seasons, finished last in every single race, and I'm suddenly. That's how you classify me as a Hall of Famer. There's no such thing as being a Hall of Famer that way. That's what really made me mad. So.
Participation trophy.
Oh, definitely a participation trophy because anything that involves me and you clashing, they got to change the criteria automatically. They don't like being beat by us. That's the problem.
Hey, they like me. They call me a cheater, but
they
really hate it.
They also don't know how a ballot works. A Hall of Fame ballot, like a first ballot Hall of Famer, is like the best of the best. You're like, you really have to go look into like the rules and stuff of like MLB or NFL, how they do their ballots. They don't do it on first ballot, we're going to do this selective name. Second ballot, we're going to do this selective name because if this said person was on this first ballot, he wasn't going to make it. So we're going to put him on the second ballot. No, it doesn't work that way. Everybody puts in their ballot at the same time. Whoever gets selected out of the top 3, whatever the criteria is, they'll have to select. That's your first ballot Hall of Famer. They don't know how to understand it, or I don't know how they run their league, but it's pretty communist-like. I will say that.
Well, it's not also just the longevity of it, but it's like you were hitting on it right there, is as far as accomplishment. If you're going to have a Hall of Fame and you're going to have people in a Hall of Fame, it's not just people that's been there, in there, and done it for a long time and was a part of it for a long time, but has accomplished like championships. Like you have a championship trophy, you have X amount number of wins, you've accomplished something. You can't just, I mean, you have guys going into the Hall of Fame that hasn't even had a win. I mean, there's nothing accomplished. It was all because longevity. I mean, but it's not even longevity when you have guys in the Hall of Fame that haven't even been there a full 365 calendar year. So yeah, to me, it was. I just kind of laughed at it as soon as the whole thing came out. I mean, I like the idea, but give it a couple more years and then have that then throw that into discussion. Not after 3 or 4 years and just 6 seasons. That's just silly to me.
And a Hall of Fame is not a fan vote. It has to be a council who has been in this league or whatever. They have a league council that will say, okay, this many people is going to have to vote on 3 said people out of all the people in this ballot, which everybody will put in their ballot at the same time. And the council will vote. Whoever has the top 3 amount of votes will then be considered a Hall of Famer. If they would have been the first ballot or second ballot, doesn't matter. But that's how you do it. It's not a fucking fan vote out there. And that's what we had to do to try to get me out there. That's why we had to campaign so hard to go try to get me to be a Hall of Famer, quote unquote. Anyways, we're going to transition into the next topic. We're going to go into the Brittney Griner situation where she just came back from Russia. We had to trade a arms dealer. His nickname is the Merchant of Death. And we traded him for Brittney Griner, a WNBA basketball player who got sent over to Russia. Well, was supposed to play basketball on her off season while the WNBA was not in there, to play basketball over in Russia. And while she was in an airport, they found out she had some vape cartridges with some, what's the word for it, if y'all know? Cannabis, yeah. Cannabis. And this was especially during the worst time to go over to Russia, because this is when we had like real tough interaction with Russia, especially with what's going on in Ukraine. And now we finally got her back home 10 months later, which we're still having another American over there, a U.S. Marine, is still over there, left. But as long as we trade an arms dealer, the Merchant of Death, for a WNBA basketball player who has no value out there.
We got our basketball player. I guess that's all that matters.
We got our basketball player.
Manager made this trade.
All 5 fans are excited for her to be back home. So
it's an embarrassment.
Was it a fair trade? Was it a fair trade?
Maybe for her. I'm sure like she's happy, obviously, but for the rest of the country, probably not. I mean, wasn't the greatest trade.
It's an embarrassment. It's a flat out embarrassment. Even Russia has come out and they're literally laughing. I read an article. I should have saved the article and showed it to you. I'm gonna try to find it. But they're saying, wait a minute. So you guys wanted, you guys had us release a basketball player, a woman's basketball player, who who's only here to play basketball, whatever, and you're gonna leave what they even called a war hero, a former Marine who they said, he's an American war hero, and you left him in jail to bring home a women's basketball player for in exchange for an arms dealer. I mean, it's an embarrassment. It's an absolute embarrassment. But I mean, when you got Mickey Mouse over there on Pennsylvania Avenue in that big white house, I mean, it's an embarrassment all the way around. So it's not a surprise to make a Mickey Mouse decision when you got Mickey Mouse, leading the way. But yeah, absolutely complete embarrassment in my opinion. She knew what the laws were. She tried to get away with it. She broke it. Now, granted, I think 9 years for a vape cartridge of cannabis is a little excessive. But like you said, it was the wrong time. She got locked up, and this happened. She got locked up literally a week before Russia invaded Ukraine. So they used her as a pawn, is what it was, and they they use it to their advantage. But she knew what the laws were. She tried to get away with it. You can't say, "Oh, I didn't know I had that in my luggage." Come on now. I'm not, I wouldn't buy that for $1.
Yeah, nobody forgets, or nobody just be like, "Oh, how'd that get there?"
Yeah, how did my weed get into my bag? I didn't know that. Yeah, come on now. So, but yeah, it's fair to Russia getting their arms dealer back, so it's fair to them, and of course it's fair to Brittney Griner, who can come home and live her life of luxury playing women's basketball.
I think a more fair trade would probably be that James kid for her. That would have been a pretty trade.
No. For the fans listening, he's talking about the TikTok James kid who says what happened all the time. But trading for Brittney Griner, we had to free up on some cap space so we can get the first round pick next year.
Yeah. We might get the Marine next year.
Yeah, we may have enough cap space for the Marine next year, but highly unlikely.
A golf player next year, actually. Who knows? We could go for the golf player.
A women's golf player. I think a women's golf player is more important than a WNBA basketball player because they have every single, I think for the past 30 seasons that the WNBA has been a thing, they have not profited once. The NBA has pumped money into that to keep them alive, and they're still out here. The players will be like, we're not getting paid enough. Well, you're operating at a loss.
Well, they get paid more than me, so I guess
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
Yeah, if you can't live off of $500,000 a year and you got to go play basketball in another country because that's not enough to make, that's not enough to live on. Well,
Welcome to the real world.
You're spoiled.
Come stand in our shoes, yeah.
Yeah. Come be a middle class person. Oh, you're definitely gonna be struggling then. We're gonna transition into the next topic, which is everybody's favorite topic, the best topic of the day. We're gonna talk about the Cowboys. No Steelers. We're gonna talk about the Cowboys versus the Texans. Dak, he had a game-winning drive going 98 yards downfield to score a touchdown to take the lead against the Texans, which they struggled most of the game, but they pulled it off. Was the Cowboys win impressive or no?
I'll go first. Was it impressive? Sure, yeah. I guess it was impressive because they played bad the whole game, but they still managed to win in the NFL, which is hard. So, I guess it was impressive. It was still an embarrassing day. They didn't show up, but it was impressive that they came together.
You can't say it was embarrassing because the Texans have kept in games with several other teams, but now if once the Cowboys get behind the Texans, it's embarrassing.
All right, so let's say we
1-11 team.
The Eagles were losing to the Texans at one point. Oh, now it's quiet. Nobody wants to say anything now. That's the thing. It's double standard.
Then they came back and blew them out. I mean, okay, so
the Cowboys came back and won. They didn't blow them. They didn't blow the Texans out. The Texans were in that game the whole time.
I wanted to message you on this. I wanted to message you on this because all season long, how you were saying, "Oh, well, this team beat this team by so much, so this team shouldn't have lost to this other team by so much." And I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. You were saying this, but your Cowboys, your 10-3 Cowboys are getting, they're, for 3.5 quarters getting spanked by a 1-11 team."
Spanked is way over the top. There's no way they were getting spanked. They were in the ball game the whole time. At most, it was a 6-point lead.
All right, so would you agree?
See, it's spanked whenever it's a 6-point lead, but whenever the Texans were leading over the Eagles over a 7-point lead, it's okay. They came back.
The Cowboys did. I'm not saying the Cowboys didn't come back too. The Cowboys did come.
I know,
back.
but your verbiage is what I'm trying to tell you. It's the verbiage. Were they getting spanked? Oh, it's embarrassing for the Cowboys.
You got to hand it to the Texans. The Texans came out and slapped the Cowboys in the mouth. They just weren't as good as the Cowboys to finish the game off. But they came out and they played ball and they gave the Cowboys all that they could handle. And they came out and they kicked their butt for 3 quarters.
It's a Texas rivalry.
They shut the Cowboys down.
It's
for 3.5 quarters.
It's a rivalry game. Of course, they've had the worst season all year. And the one Super Bowl they could have is versus the Cowboys. They could ruin them being on top of the world. And they came out. They smacked us in the mouth. It was a very physical football team. I went and watched the game, and I was like, wow, they're smacking us in the mouth right now. Like, not figuratively, but literally, they were smacking us in the mouth, and the Cowboys were taking some hits. But to go on to clash, and I cut him off earlier, so can you go back to what you're saying?
I mean, I don't really know if I want to say it, but would you agree if we ran this game back, let's just say 10 more times, do you think the game plays out like that for at least 5 of the 10 games, or does the Cowboys win 31? I guess the question I'm trying to ask, did the Cowboys just have an off game? Or was that just the Texans, showing up and playing the Cowboys hard because that was their Super Bowl?
I think it's a mixture of both. They were definitely playing hard. I was seeing it out there. They were playing pretty hard. They were smacking us in the mouth. But I also want to take into consideration that the game planning that Kellen Moore was putting out there wasn't the best, because the very first drive we run the ball, and it was running it very well. And then suddenly after that second, third drive, fourth drive, we kind of just stalled right there. But when you look at the stats, you would say, well, look at the average. They were running the ball really well. In the middle of the game, it doesn't tell the tale of what happened in that game. Kellen Moore kept running the ball, and we kept having a lot of no gain yards, negative yards on rushing the ball. The only thing that was possibly okay was the passing game, which both interceptions was tipped. One that Dak threw tight in the pocket to Noah Brown got tipped, and then, actually, it hit him in the face mask. He didn't catch it, but I could see where he couldn't see the ball because it was a tight window, but Dak fitted in there. He couldn't see where the ball was at. Tipped up. Texans intercepted it. The second interception in the fourth quarter, where his hand was going forward, the Texans defender got his hand on his hand, which then made the ball go in a different direction, and the Texans picked it off. Where then the Cowboys defense stopped them right there at the goal line to keep it to a 3-point game and keep us in the game. But to go back to your question, I think it also could be a part of preparation going in this game with how last week went with all the OBJ talk. There was a lot of distraction around the locker room because Monday he went to this Mavs game with Micah and Trayvon. Then Tuesday, that's when all the stuff started popping up about his knee and everything. And then it was just like the talk of the week all week. And then once we get to the game, we start off good, scored on the first drive. Cowboys defense gives a 3-and-out, then boom. All the momentum of the game just stopped right there because the Texans punted the ball. Turpin went to go get it. He muffed it, and that I feel like that's where it ruined all momentum. That game could have went 38-10 right there if there was no muff. Because, momentum is a real thing, and you got to watch it real time and not look at the stats and be like, well, they should have done this and they should have done that. No, the momentum is a real thing going into this game.
Yeah, but I think everyone knew this, even you, that this was gonna be a trap game or upset game, whatever. Because everyone, and it doesn't matter if you're in middle school, high school, college. A 1-10 team will show up and play as hard as they, even if it's not a rivalry game. They always want to beat that 12-0 team, 11-1 team. Like the underdog will always play harder than the favorite team.
Yeah, especially how the lines were last year. I think they only had like 2 or 3 wins, but they had so many close games come down to the very wire, and nobody would be like, "Oh, well, you lost to this 0-win team. You lost to this 1-win team." No, that was a pretty tough team that they beat against.
Yeah, the Lions lost one game last year to the Ravens on a 65-yard game-winning field goal at the
67.
Like
The NFL record. 66. I think it was 66 or 67. It was a.
It was like a double doink. But if there was any way that the Lions could lose last year, they lost. They experienced it. I felt bad for them. I mean, they're on a roll now. I mean, they're playing some good ball now. They got a big game coming up against the Jets. But with the Cowboys, I couldn't agree with Clash more again. That it's definitely kind of that trap game, quote unquote trap game type thing. Like you said, it's an in-state rivalry. I wasn't able to watch the game. It wasn't broadcasted where I live here on the East Coast, so I wasn't able to watch the game. I only saw the highlights. But you're absolutely right. Momentum is a very big thing in these games, especially in the NFL. Momentum carries a long, long way. I mean, you see it in college basketball all the time when the team gets momentum. That what does the other team do? They call a timeout to try to switch the momentum. So momentum is real, and it does play a huge, huge factor. So it was, we're is it something, it's going to be interesting to see. Who does Dallas play this coming week?
Cowboys will be playing the Jags.
Oh, the Jags. That's right. So,
And the Jags are coming off a big win.
A big win.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead.
So we'll call the Jags a tough team until the Cowboys beat them, and then we'll just say the Jags were trash. We expected that to happen. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's typical.
I got a question for JWoww. So how did James Washington do? And do you expect what's his name from the Colts?
T.Y. Hilton.
Hilton to, once he learns the offense, to be a starter, or do you think he's going to be like more of a role player like James Washington or Michael Gallup or Brown, whatever?
To answer your first question, James Washington, he was I think he only had one target and he dropped it, but he did get smacked in the mouth pretty good. That's if I remember correctly. But watching him like coming out of the huddle, he was really like sprinting and everything. He was hustling out there, so that's a good sign to know. He's very, very grateful for how he's going out there on the field after coming back after a long injury from the offseason, or it was in the training camp actually. And very beginning of training camp, got injured, and now he's finally getting back on the field. But he was hustling real good. Hopefully, it's going to take a couple games for him to get in the rhythm, and then him and Dak can have their timing right. But for T.Y. Hilton, I think he's going to be more of a role player. We already have our 3 receivers for now, 3-4 receivers. I think you're looking for more of a not for him to have a big game, but for what can he do out of this one play. He needs that one play we're trying to get out of this player, 1 or 2 plays. And I think he can be that 1 or 2 play receiver where if CD's being covered, Gallup's being covered, but TY's open, he can get that one big play at you. I think that's what we can get out of him, especially once we get him in a rhythm towards the end of the season and peaking up to the playoffs. That's what I'm really more looking forward to.
Not to mention, he's also fresh. He hasn't been on any roster all season, so he's fresh. He's rested. He's ready to go. So I mean, you got a fresh pair of legs. So yeah, he's definitely going to be a role player. And I've always liked T.Y. Hilton when he was with the Colts. I thought he's a very good player, very class player. Played the game. He's a professional. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does. And like I said, it's going to take a couple weeks. Now they'll probably have a few set plays for him, designed for him. A few set plays to maybe get him the ball, get him in a little bit of a rhythm, and then over the course of the next couple weeks, get him more involved with the offense and that kind of thing, and develop some timing and rhythm and that kind of thing with Dak. So it's going to be interesting. I thought it was a kind of an interesting signing. Ty, he's not in the prime of his career, obviously, but he still can be effective. But how effective? It's interesting. It'll be interesting to find out. But especially, he is well rested. He's fresh. He's been sitting all in the past 12, 13 weeks. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he does. But I've always liked him. I hope he does well.
I want to stay on this Cowboys Texans debate here. So I use the word embarrassing. I know you don't like that, but it was kind of embarrassing because at the same way y'all didn't perform as well, your momentum could be shifted, lost completely. Who knows? But did the Texans show the rest of the league how to beat the Dallas Cowboys? Like, they smacked you in the mouth. Did other teams learn how to defeat Kellen Moore's offense?
Yes, it does start. It does start with stopping the run, and what everybody says, they're like, well, if you're running the ball good, and you're having to rely on Dak, then there's something wrong with Kellen Moore's offense. Well, if you're watching it by the game, you had to rely on Dak. So that's where because they stopped the rush. And once you have the rush going, then that opens up the passing, which helps out Dak a lot. And Zeke and Pollard really stalled in the middle of that game. Ever since the first three drives of the game, they really stalled, and they couldn't really get anything big. Because, big play Pollard and Zeke is one of the most physical on the team, and he was getting smacked in the mouth. He got stopped at the goal line on a fourth and goal at the 1 in the third quarter for them to take the lead. And it just it was really like a gut punch to the team, and it was deflating to the fans as well when I was there. It's like, we may fucking lose this game. But they somehow pulled it out. But for them to come beat this offense, they really have to start with stopping the offense, stopping the rush first. If you can stop the rush, and that could really help out stopping the passing game if you're the other team. But for the Texans being more physical, I think that was with a lack of preparation going in this game, because the Cowboys didn't have really many padded practices. They didn't have any padded practices going up leading to the Texans by reports, what I've saw and heard.
I honestly don't think it matters. They're in the NFL. It's week 15. I hardly doubt any of the key players are even practicing. They're just mainly doing walkthroughs. I really don't think they do full practices.
I do think they do full practices, but not to where they're hitting 100%. Maybe they're going 50% hitting in full pads. But if you're so getting comfortable and not practicing in pads, and then you suddenly put on the pads on the game day, you're kind of at a disadvantage, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't think that has. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I'm wondering. The question raises in my mind: did just the Cowboys just take them way too lightly and thought that they were just going to come in and they're playing at home, and they're playing a 1-10 team. Where the Cowboys were 10-3. We're just this is a game we're just going to walk right over them and look forward to the next week. And then, Houston kind of showed up and okay, well, we got to get something going here. And they just couldn't get anything going. So, I mean, maybe was it a factor of that? I don't know necessarily that, Houston may have provided a blueprint on how to stop the offense and how to beat the Cowboys necessarily. Whereas it was maybe the Cowboys just literally kind of took them too lightly and, just kind of, sleepwalk through the whole entire thing until it was, came down to the nitty gritty. Say, hey, we might lose this game. We don't get our shit together, and kind of got lucky there a little bit at the end. Had luck kind of fall on their side, and we're able to kind of pull it out. So I don't know. Maybe it was just they took them a little too lightly. Maybe.
Yeah. Not only did the Texans slow down the high flying Cowboys offense that usually, puts up 35, 40, 45 points, but they took away, I think, probably the best defensive player in the league right now, Parsons. You didn't really hear much from Parsons at all in this game. I didn't really see him in the stats. They really found a way to keep him on his toes and not knowing where the ball's going to go.
He's been struggling the last 2 games. I know we say struggle even though he has 12 sacks this season, but the last 2 games he's had no sacks. But you know him as a pass rusher. He didn't have any any pressures last game. There was literally 0 sacks by the Cowboys defense. That is the first game that the Cowboys have had 0 sacks this season on their defense. And that really hurted them pretty bigly, because if you could have that pass rush, and the Texans, that the Cowboys defense made the quarterbacks that were out there seem really good, when this elite pass rushing defense that we have shouldn't make them look that way. They were just getting beat physically on the line.
Yeah, I think Parsons not getting any sacks in the last 2 games is a respect thing, because everyone's starting to realize Parsons is that guy, so he's going to get more attention. But other guys on the defensive line for the Cowboys need to step up, because if you have 2 or 3 linemen focusing on Parsons, you would think that would free up Lawrence on a 1v1 with another guard or a tackle, and he would get to the quarterback.
It felt like it was going to be a dominant game for the first drive. They had a 3 and out. They rushed the ball 2 times, and then the defense stopped them on a pass on the 3rd play of that very first drive the Texans had. Then the punt, the muff, and then you literally just came off the field. Now you got to go back on the field. That's like a gut punch to your defense. Like, well, what more do we got to do? If our 3rd phase of the game, the special teams can't get their job done, now we got to go get our job done again.
So let's try to speed up this Cowboys talk. But after this embarrassing loss, I'm going to call it embarrassing. Well, he didn't lose. After this embarrassing game, do you still have hope that the Cowboys are going to, make the Super Bowl?
Of course I got some damn hope. This is Dallas.
Come on.
It's the Dallas Cowboys. Of course
You're
I
not
got
worried
hope.
about the Bucs or the Niners?
Why would I be worried about the Bucs? We may not even be facing the Bucs. We may be facing the Panthers, for all I know.
Maybe. I doubt it, but the Bucs already beat you once. They have your number.
No, they don't. They're not the same team that they were since the beginning of the season.
I've seen a trend with the Cowboys. So when the Cowboys play a good team, like the Vikings or anyone, they do good. Like, they show America why they're the team. But if you get them in a game with a nobody, like the Bucs, the Texans, maybe any bad team, they hang around. So if you get the Bucs in the playoffs, and like the TV's just pumping Brady up like he's a nobody, he's supposed to lose this game, pack your bags, there could be an upset.
It wouldn't really be an upset, because it's going to be a home game for the Bucs. And okay, so what you say, they're playing bad against bad teams, but good against good teams. Well, guess what? We're in the playoffs. You're playing against good teams right now. There's no such bum team in the playoffs. So you earned your way to the playoffs, and you're going to have to win your way through the playoffs. And guess who the Cowboys are going? And guess who the Cowboys are facing? They're going to be facing good teams, great teams. And what do they do against great teams? They showed what they did against the Vikings, 40-3. There's no bum teams. There's
Atlanta, Panthers, the Bucs, the Saints, great teams. Is that what we're saying? The NFC South is great.
I mean, if the Panthers go on a run towards the end of the season, if they win these last 4 games, I think they would win the last 6 games of the season. And I truly think that gets them in the playoffs, because Brady has to face the Bengals next, I believe. And you saw what the 49ers just did to the Bucs.
I mean, yeah, but we've already debated their schedules. Like, the Bucs have the easiest schedule.
Okay.
They're in a weak division. They're in such a weak division right now. So
I know they're in a weak division.
Yeah, they can take the division easily because it's a weak division. I mean, they can take the division at
Then why haven't they taken it already? If it's so weak, why haven't they taken it already?
Because they're not. I don't think they're as good as what they used to be. I don't think they're all that good at all. They are what their record says they are.
And that's why I truly think that the Panthers could have a shot at winning this division, with how bad the Bucs are struggling.
Which is crazy, because the
It's
Panthers
very
got rid
crazy.
of Baker, they got rid of Anderson, they shipped him to where? Arizona? Like, they shipped out a lot of their good players. Even McCaffrey, right? He was on the Panthers at one point.
Even Baker. They cut
They shipped
Baker.
out all their players, and they're still in
they're
contention.
in a complete rebuild. Their Panthers are going to be in a complete rebuild. So that's what you do is you trade away those guys and get your draft capital. So at the end of the season, you can take your draft capital that you got in the trades and rebuild your roster. But
So
like I said, my pick of the South was the Falcons. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I still think the Falcons can turn it around.
so
I
why
don't
get
think
rid
so.
of Christian McCaffrey but not DJ Moore?
Because they said before that DJ Moore is basically the focal point of the team, which I feel bad for him because they're not going to trade him. I know.
He's a receiver.
I know.
Receivers shouldn't be the.
What are you gonna get in return for DJ Moore? A 5th-round pick?
No, DJ Moore is a pretty solid receiver.
Yeah, DJ's
I
top.
agree, he's a solid receiver, but ain't nobody gonna give up a decent draft capital for him.
The
You're
Giants.
gonna get maybe
The
a
Giants
4th
probably
round
would.
pick.
The Giants might.
The trading.
I mean, it's possible.
The trade
You're
deadline.
right.
The trade
And it's a
deadline's
somebody-
long gone, so I don't even know why we're talking about trades.
Well,
I know this
you're-
could be a reach, but I compare DJ Moore with Debo Samuel. I think they're the same player basically. They both run a lot of runs as wide receiver.
Speaking of Debo, we're going to transition into that game versus the Bucs and 49ers. The Bucs got absolutely crushed in a 35-7 loss, which Debo ended up getting hurt, and he's going to be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks, and playoffs start in 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks.
No, there was an announcement earlier that his injury wasn't as serious as they thought, and it could be maybe like 3 or 4 weeks when he comes back. But they should just rest him until the playoffs start, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the same thing. They're probably going to rest him into the playoffs. And we're going to talk about Brady. He got showed up. He got showed up and showed out over there. So does this decrease Brady's odds of returning to Tampa Bay next season?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
What?
Tell me why.
Why? The Bucs are falling apart. I don't think Brady wants his legacy to be 3-10 for the next 20 years or whatever he stays in the league. And there's already rumors that the Vikings are gonna, not the Vikings, the Raiders are gonna cut Derek Carr to bring in Tom Brady, which he already has Josh McDaniels there. He's gonna have a good receiver. They're gonna have Josh Jacobs. They'll probably put him on the what's it called? I don't know, but they're gonna use something on him to not pay him. But yeah, I think Brady is gonna go to the Raiders. I would put the house on Brady to the Raiders.
That's a good fantasy, but you guys are forgetting one thing about the Tampa Bay that everybody that you guys are forgetting that a lot of people haven't talked about is the offensive line. The offensive line is in shambles, man. They're all beat. They lost their starting center. They lost a couple other guys. They have a patchwork offensive line. So that's kind of the game. And your offense starts with your offensive line. I don't care if you have Tom Brady, Joe Montana, John Elway as your quarterback. If you don't have an offensive line to protect them, they're not going to do shit.
In terms of Tom Brady, yes. Joe Burrow last season, he led the league in sacks, and he made a run. So he's an outlier.
Yeah, but he didn't win that Super Bowl.
He got close though.
And why? You know why he didn't win the Super Bowl? Because he had a quarterback pressure because the lineman missed his block.
Also, well, we can debate that, but that was also scripted. The Rams were going to win that game.
Scripted.
Yeah.
Scripted, just like the Cowboys this year.
That was scripted. That last drive, you knew the refs were going to make sure the Rams won that game.
Oh, here we go with controversy.
That's a different talk for another game, but another day. But yeah, I no, Brady's not going anywhere. The original question, no, Brady's not going anywhere. He'll be back. They'll have that offensive line and everything. He'll be down there in Tampa Bay. But it's a good fantasy to think that he'll wind up in Vegas with Josh McDaniel. But I think Josh McDaniel, his ass gonna get canned after this year because he just ain't cutting him, man. He ain't a good. He might be a decent offensive coordinator, but this is his second stint as a head coach. And it's turning out the same as the first stint. So,
if there's any chance that the Raiders could get Tom Brady, they're going to keep Josh McDaniels just to help. That's what they did with Denver.
I don't think they have a chance to get Tom Brady, though.
Aaron Rodgers' old offensive coordinator as leverage, but they still didn't get him. But I think Brady's leaving. It might not be to the Raiders, but I am 65% sure Brady's leaving.
All right.
I think Brady will go to the 49ers. I think he'll go to the 49ers.
I think Rodgers is going to go there.
They've already said Trey Lance is their future.
Oh, it may not with
He
Brock
got
Purdy.
hurt early. He'll be back. He's on a rookie contract. He'll be back. They're gonna sink or swim with Trey Lance over the next couple of years. It ain't gonna be the 49ers.
So if Purdy takes the 49ers to the Super Bowl and wins, do you still think they're gonna stick with Trey Lance?
I do, yeah. Like, I mean,
Why would they stick with Trey Lance?
Garoppolo took them to 2 straight NFC Championship games, and they waved bye-bye to him.
But they've been wanting to wave bye-bye to him. That's the thing.
They are going to sink or swim with Trey Lance. They have basically all but said that.
They would be a fool to not bring Brady into the building for at least a season or two, just to teach Trey Lance.
Okay, but listen to this. Listen, if Purdy takes them to a Super Bowl and wins, why would they go to a quarterback who? I'm trying to explain this.
You saying Brady's going to take the
No,
Niners to
Purdy.
Oh, Purdy. Okay.
I'm saying if Purdy takes the team to a Super Bowl and wins, why would they go back to Trey Lance? Even though if they already have a quarterback that has proven that is Super Bowl tested to go win and win in the playoffs. This is the same mistake that the Eagles made in 2017 when Wentz went down, the season that they were playing good, and Nick Foles took over, and he took them to the Super Bowl and won. And guess what they did next season? They played Wentz. And how many playoffs have they went to since then? One?
I agree with you, and I would ask the same question. But we'll see what happens.
But you just said they would stick. But you just said you would stick with Trey Lance, though.
No, I thought you were talking about Brady. Bringing Brady.
No, Brady.
Talking about Brady to the 49ers. No. But that would be an interesting scenario, and I would ask the same question too, and that would be a dilemma that they would face if old Mr. Irrelevant did take them to and win the Super Bowl, because we've seen that that would be the only way that he would have that to be able to be in that conversation, because the NFC Championship game obviously isn't going to be enough for you, because Garoppolo proved that 2 years in a row.
What quarterback would you go with, Clashin?
What do you, in terms of what? Are we talking about if Purdy
or Trey Lance or Jimmy G?
Jimmy G, I don't know. I think the 49ers is just a weird, it's a system. Anybody can be quarterback there. You don't have to be too good. More of a system place. But Trey Lance, like Shady said, should be their future. I mean, they got him. I think Trey Lance is a really good player. He's just hasn't had too many game time scenarios. He came in this season, started, but he got hurt. He didn't really play last season because of Jimmy G. I think they should continue with Trey Lance. That's why I say they should bring in Brady and just for a season or two and just help Lance. But I do think Lance is their guy, even if Purdy wins the Super Bowl. If Purdy wins the Super Bowl, maybe they can use him for some draft, some value.
So let me ask you this: if Kenny Pickett goes down, Mitch Trubisky takes the Steelers all the way to the Super Bowl and wins, you're still gonna want to stick with Kenny Pickett?
Yes.
That would never happen.
Oh my God.
That would never.
Okay,
happen.
but no, I'm trying to compare.
Time out. Let's do the Cowboys then. All right, let's say
Put your glasses back on.
And Cooper Rush goes all the way to the Super Bowl. Is Dak no longer going to be the starter for next season?
They weren't even going to. If Cooper Rush would have won against the Eagles earlier in the season, they weren't going to bring Dak until Cooper Rush lost. I would have guaranteed that. That's why as soon as Cooper Rush lost to the Eagles, they went to Dak. I'm pretty sure if they would have stuck.
If Dak goes out next week, breaks his ankle out for the season, and Cooper Rush comes in, takes them to and win the Super Bowl. What do you think? Would they stick with Rush, or are they going to stick with Dak?
They're going to stick with Rush because he brought him to the Super Bowl. I'm telling you what they're going to do. They're going to stick with Rush because he would have brought them to the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl in probably about 27 years. You think they're going to stick with a quarterback who didn't bring him to the Super Bowl? for the previous 8 years, 7 years.
Oh, also in that contract, that multi-million-dollar extension that they gave Prescott might have something to say about that.
I'm just saying. I think they would if for a team that hasn't went to the Super Bowl in 27 years, they're going to stick with the quarterback who did take them to the Super Bowl.
But the Mitch
hypothetically,
Kenny thing,
hypothetically,
that's not really a good question because I mean Mitch and Kenny are both new to the organization. They're both not high-paid quarterbacks, so it's like
that's basically saying, okay, well, what if I got signed by the Steelers and I took them to the Super Bowl? Because that's the same.
Okay, we're trying to bring realistic stuff into here. I could say me too, but I'm bringing realistic examples into here, like Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky, or Trey Lance and Purdy.
Mitch Trubisky taking the Steelers to the Super Bowl and winning it is not realistic. Come on now.
Yeah, he had a pretty bad game.
That's not.
He took the Bears to the playoffs, and the double doink is the only reason why he didn't get to the next round.
Because he had a good defense behind him.
We could say that about Trey Lance if he wins. The only reason he won because he had a good defense.
He had a good system built for him. He was, he had a couple good seasons. He had a good defense. He had pieces in place, and it worked out well for him. But Mitch Trubisky is not a franchise Super Bowl winning quarterback.
That's what I was about to say.
We could say that about anybody. I'm just throwing examples out there. We could say Davis Mills from the Texans. I could say if they went to go Super Bowl, is he really going to win a Super Bowl? No, he's not. I'm just saying, throwing examples out there to compare what he's saying with the 49ers to his favorite team. That's what I'm trying to get out of this.
I just don't think if whatever is Purdy, if he wins the Super Bowl, he's going to be the starter. I don't think it's going to happen.
He's almost outplayed the way Trey Lance has played at all in any of his career. Exactly like that. And he's cheap.
I think Purdy would be, I don't know, give Purdy time. Like, this could just be a time where, like, teams don't really know him yet. I mean, just give it 2 or 3 weeks. He could be figured out. Never know.
I feel like this is where teams make mistakes, like what the Eagles did. I would have stuck with Nick.
The Eagles should have started Nick Foles in the next season?
Yes, he took them to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but look what happened before that. Carson Wentz was literally playing the best football of his life before he got hurt.
Yes, and then Nick Foles made the team even better. He scored the most points in the Super Bowl than any other team.
That was just in the Super Bowl.
Or not most points collectively, but by both teams.
He won those games in the playoffs too.
And most yards.
I would have started Nick. I think that was a huge mistake. I would have stuck with Foles myself, but I
just don't like it. There's no way the Cowboys would just toss Dak Prescott.
They wouldn't toss him.
If Cooper Rush took him to the Super Bowl and won it.
That's what we have to debate about. I truly think.
I can see Jerry Jones doing that. Jerry Jones, I can see
Jerry Jones said he would pay any amount of money to go win another Super Bowl. You don't think he would pay the price to give up Dak to go with Cooper Rush to go win a Super Bowl?
Jerry, if you're listening to this,
Jerry,
I'm a very good field goal kicker. I'll give you Super Bowl.
We'd love to have you on. We'd love to have you on the show, Jerry. At any point, if Jerry, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on the show, as well as Micah, Dak, Zeke, CeeDee Lamb. We'd love to have any NFL player, honestly.
I'll still talk shit about you, so don't worry.
No, he wouldn't. He'd be great. He would just be grateful that you're on the show.
I would criticize even harder.
No, he wouldn't. Y'all would be grateful that they're on the show. Well, okay.
I would be very grateful, but I wouldn't change my personality because they're on the show.
They would cancel you so hard. They would be like, get their people.
You can't cancel someone that's not relevant. So
yes, same with the Steelers. You can't bring them up if they're not relevant to the Cowboys and Eagles. But we're gonna move on to the next. We're gonna move on to the next topic. Are the Lions a top 10 team in the NFL right now? And should we bet the house on the Lions making the playoffs? They have a pretty good path to the playoffs currently with their schedule. So, Clash.
I'd say the Jets are their toughest. No, let's start with Shady. I want to hear what he has to say.
Oh yeah, let's start with Shady.
What with the Jets? The Jets are playing good ball. Are they a top 10 team?
The Lions.
Oh, the Lions. I'm sorry. Are the Lions a top 10 team? No, I don't think they're a top 10 team. I think they're just playing really good ball, and they're coming together and they're starting to gel, and they're playing good ball, man. They're having fun. They're running around having fun and getting things going. But are they a top 10 team? Not right now, I don't think. I mean,
let me ask you this. So the Thanksgiving game that they had against the Bills was a close game. The Bills had a game-winning field goal to go win that game. And the Vikings game, which they trampled them, not trampled, but they put on a lot of points against the Vikings. Those games were just a coincidence.
I saw the highlights. They manhandled the Vikings.
Are those two games just a coincidence against two top 8 teams right there?
No, I think they're good. I think they played good game, and I think they're.
And also they also
they're a decent team getting better.
Okay, yes, but let me also add they also lost to the Eagles 38-35 in the week 1. All of these games are just a coincidence, and they're still not a top 10 team in the NFL.
I didn't say it's a coincidence. I said, but I don't think they're a top 10 team. If I would have to write them out, they'd probably be like right outside, like 11th or 12th or something. But I don't think they're inside that top 10. If I had to write a list down, I'll write a list down tomorrow and see, and
we'll give you a list right now. While Clashton takes his take, get you a quick list going.
Think about it. I could just make a list in 5 minutes.
I am actually looking at the power rankings. So, and the NFL actually has the Lions right at number 10. Right at number 10. So I guess I can say that Detroit is a top 10 team.
Okay, can you list the other 9 teams that were ahead of them?
All right. So number 1, no surprise, the Eagles. Number 2, Niners. Number 3, Bengals. Number 4, Bills. Number 5, Chiefs. Number 6, Cowboys. 7, Vikings. 8 is Ravens, which that's a shock. 9, Chargers, and then 10, Lions. 11 would be Dolphins. I'm gonna stop there.
Oh, see?
You don't think the? Never mind. I was gonna say something, but anyways, you don't think they're top? What are the top 15? What is the?
So 11 was Dolphins. 12 is Jets. Patriots is 13. Who has the Patriots at 13? The Commanders are 14th, and then the Titans are 15th, which I believe. So actually,
there's a lot of good teams.
I would put the Niners, honestly, like 7th. I mean, did I say the Niners? Lions at 7th. They beat the Vikings. They're better than the Ravens, and they're definitely better than the Chargers. I would put the Lions the top 7 team, to be honest.
I would put them in the top 10. I wouldn't say top 7, but top 10 for sure. But with the Cowboys at number 7, that's pretty blasphemous. What I'm hearing, they have one.
Number 6.
Okay, still, they were like number 3, number 2 a week ago.
4 spots. So yeah, they were number 2.
Yeah,
they were number 2.
They have one struggled game, and then they're just thrown under the bus.
Yeah, because the Cowboys. Everyone knows the Cowboys normally fall about this time of the year.
No, we don't. Because I saw a stat earlier. The Cowboys under Coach McCarthy are 9-1 in the month of December since 2020. So whatever you're saying that, they usually fall around this time. No, they don't.
What did I tell you? I thought I was gonna put the Cowboys at number 4. I do think number 6. That's a little too far. The Eagles are a clear number 1. I don't think the Niners are number 2. I know they showed out really good, but I would only put the Niners like number 5 or 6. The Bengals probably wouldn't be number 3 for me. I would put them at 5 or 6, and then the Bills would be like 3rd.
So now the Bills are starting to come along now after a couple good wins.
Yeah, they're starting to get back in rhythm. They beat a good defense. They scored on a good defense. And then the Chiefs struggled against the Denver, which Russell Wilson had a career game. But yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on into the next topic, which is the Eagles steamroll the Giants, and I'm not gonna say this.
Shady, do you think the Lions are going to make the playoffs?
No.
I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say yes as well because they have an easy path to the...
Very easy. Their toughest game is the Jets, which is this week.
Their toughest game is the Jets, and they need either the Giants, the Redskins, or the Seattle to just drop.
To lose 2 games. Yep.
Yeah, which the Giants are like... They started the season off 6-1. Now they're 7-5-1. The Redskins, they're somewhat on the uprise. They had the tie, so I'd still see them going up and probably getting the 6th seed. But it's mainly between the Giants and the Seattle struggling.
Because what the Giants have to play the Eagles again and the Niners. Redskins have to play the Niners and the Cowboys.
Seahawks
So
have to play the
both-
Niners as well.
Yeah, so it's very realistic that the Giants, Seahawks, and Redskins lose at least 2 more games. But the Lions, they play the Jets this week, which is a game I'm going to say they lose this game. They play the Panthers and then the next week, which they should win that. They then play the Bears, and then they play the Packers, which is a rivalry game, so maybe the Packers can win. But the Lions have the best odds to win at least 3 games.
And that doesn't change your mind, Shady?
No, I don't see I don't see the Lions making the playoffs this year. I
Okay.
just don't see it.
All right. Well, I guess those
They're getting
3.
better though. I like the Lions, man. I do. I like the Lions. I'm not trying to trash the Lions because I like the Lions. I'm glad to see them actually, getting better and gelling. And I mean, I like the coach, man. I like the Lions, man. I like to see them getting better. So I'm kind of rooting for them to get better. But I think they're 1 year away before they really have a shot at a playoff.
So you're predicting the Redskins to beat the Niners and the Cowboys in the last week. And
Yes,
you're
I am.
predicting the Seahawks. Let me look at their schedule. You're predicting them to beat the Niners this week and beat the Chiefs and beat the
No.
Jets.
No.
I see the Seahawks going 1-3 the next 4 weeks. Niners, Chiefs,
Which puts them
Jets,
at
Raiders.
8 and 9 right there. That
So,
puts
yeah, I
that puts Seattle at 8 and 9. Who the
I'm only
Giants have?
giving- So the Giants, they have the Eagles at the end of the year, right?
Yes, they have the Eagles, and then they
right.
have.
So they play the
49ers.
Commanders this
Eagles
week.
will be resting. The
So they
Eagles
play
will
the
be
Commanders.
resting everybody.
Yeah. If the Eagles win against Cal, they'll be resting. So Giants, Commanders, their best. If they tie this game, that would probably be the best. Then the Giants versus Vikings, which could be a close game. The Colts, I'm giving the Giants a win, and then the Eagles, if they're resting, maybe the Giants can pull it off. But I'm giving the
That's a win.
Giants 2 losses. That's what I'm giving them.
So 2
either way, the
losses in the next
Redskins
4
or-
games.
So no matter what, the Redskins or Giants are going to lose 2 games, unless somehow the Redskins and Giants tie this week. That's their best case scenarios if they tie.
Yeah, that's also the best case scenario for the NFC East, because they'll keep all 4 teams in the playoffs still, unless the Seattle wins.
Lions. I'm liking the Lions odds. I mean, things can happen. It's the NFL. But I just think the Lions mathematically have the best odds. Or they could choke and lose all
Schematically.
the next 4 games.
Schematically fucked.
It is the Lions. They did lose on a 67-yard field goal.
Things can happen. They can maybe lose to the Bears. Never know.
Okay, we're gonna go to the Eagles versus Giants. They steamroll the Giants pretty big. Well, I don't even know what the question. There is no question. So yeah, Eagles steamroll the Giants.
We just wanted to bring up the Cowboys there, because what was it? Eagles steamrolled the Giants while the Cowboys struggle against a team of nobodies. So yeah, the Eagles, as we said, clear number 1, and then the Cowboys struggled, which is why they dropped to number 6 in NFL's eyes, not my eyes.
Shady. Eagles steamroll the Giants.
They kicked their ass. I mean, what else can you say? I mean, the Giants just they're not like I said, like I've been saying, they're not the team that they were, when they were 6-1. They're a team that is nosediving. Teams either nosedive, stay, kind of plateau and stay the same, or they get better, as the season goes on. The Giants are unfortunately that team that are going, started hot and going, on a nosedive. They're not the team that everybody thought that they were when they were 5-1, 6-1, or whatever. And they're just not the caliber of the Eagles. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, that was the Eagles just came out and straight up kicked their butt.
So the Giants are not the same team as they were since the Thanksgiving game, correct?
Right no, I think right then now they are the team that they were Thanksgiving, getting their butt whipped by Dallas and on Thanksgiving.
Then why did you pick?
Team.
Then why did you pick them against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving?
Because I didn't think that they were that team, but 3 weeks ago.
That's what I'm asking. So they're a different team now, because the team that you thought they were at 7-2, whatever it was at the time, is not that team no more.
Correct. They are not what they were when they were 6-1 or whatever.
So would you say
They're
they're
nosediving.
frauds?
They're nosediving for whatever reason. They're nosediving. They're kind of like we were just talking about the Lions. They are a team that's gelling and getting better as the season goes on. The Giants are not a team that's getting better as the season goes on. So I mean, you get better, or you get worse. I mean, or you kind of stay the same and have an 8-8, 500 type of year. Of course, we don't have that now because of the way the schedule is. But I mean, but unfortunately for the Giants, I mean, but they hopefully, I think they'll kind of get their shit together, and they'll like I said, that the Eagles will be resting everybody on that last week, so you can kind of chalk that up to a win. When it comes down to the Commanders and Giants this week, I've watched the Redskins all my life. I've been a Redskins fan ever since I was born. And the Giants and the Redskins, no matter what the schedule, no matter what the records are, no matter if one is undefeated 15-0 and the other one's 1-15, it doesn't matter. They play each other really, really tough. It's a hard-nosed type of game. Anybody, it comes down to the wire all the time. I mean, they just play each other tough. It's a divisional rivalry, Giants Redskins game, and it's going to be a big game. So I mean, the Giants, they could come out and get their shit together this week. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, it sucks for the Giants because they are, like I said, the Lions, a team that gotten better. The Giants are a team that has gotten worse.
All right, so I have a question. So let's say the Redskins do win this week, and it would be I'm going to say the Giants are a team that missed the playoffs, and it's going to be given to the Lions. So let's say the Redskins make Commanders. We'll call them the Commanders. They make the playoffs. You think they'll get a new field? Because I know this field is known for a lot of injuries, and they're kind of stuck with this field until like 2027.
No,
I think.
they're at Washington this time. They're not at New York. They played at New York 2 weeks ago.
No, I'm just because Washington's the field that had like the stands collapse on the Hurts and stuff, and then you get a bunch of players that are always getting hurt.
Oh, but the grass, no, that was years ago. The grass has been totally redone.
They redone
field, yeah, the turf has been completely redone over the past couple. There's nothing wrong with the turf. The turf is grade A.
A lot of players don't like turf though.
It's grass.
It's grass. It's not turf.
It's
okay.
Turf meaning grass.
Right.
But yeah, it's grass.
You could get injured on any type of surface, honestly.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
I don't think there's.
We saw last night Kyler Murray blow his ACL out on grass, but statistics have shown.
And you see Russell Wilson having a concussion on grass.
Yep, but just statistics have shown and very favorably, and just like we just saw, who was it that just played the Giants up in the Meadowlands, and that field is actually getting redone after the season because their own players have complained about their turf because their own players they've taken so many injuries, and I can't remember who it was that just played them and put out a tweet, change the field type thing because even saying how the Meadowlands turf, that artificial whatever it is absolute crap, and the statistics have absolutely proven it.
So all the turf I've ever played on, I know it like turf nowadays could be different. They got so much technology, but it is really, really bad for your joints. It's just so tough to run on. So I can only imagine playing in the NFL and getting hit.
Yep.
I vote for grass, but the way technology is nowadays, so they could probably do whatever they want to help turf.
All right. Next, we're going to move on to the Jags versus Titans. It was a shocker win. The Jags won pretty bigly, so the performance on the road by the Jags. Will the Jags be contenders in the future, meaning next season and on? Or the Cowboys game? Will they be a contender?
Do you think they will be a contender in the Cowboys game? If the Cowboys play like they did last week, there is a chance the Jags can win. I mean, I don't see the Jags winning this game unless they play like they did last week. Because maybe the Jags are like the Lions. They're getting hot. I mean, they found their franchise quarterback. They have a good running back, ETN. Their receivers. Did you laugh at ETN?
Hope not.
Huh?
Uh,
Who left?
I thought Shady laughed at it when I said ETN is a good running back. Who else? They have some good wide receivers, I guess. But yeah, I think the Jags they could be a playoff contender in the next few years. Not this year because they're 5-8, but next few years, they could be 9-7, 9-8, somewhere in that range.
Shady, are
Yeah,
they going to be contenders?
I see them. Yeah, I could see them very easily being contenders, and I would give the main reason because of their coach, Doug Peterson. He's a hell of a coach. He won that Super Bowl with the Eagles. He's a hell of a coach. And you see, the Jaguars, kind of like what I was just saying with the Lions, they have gotten better as the season has gone on. They are getting better. They're learning that offense. They're starting to gel as a team. They're starting to believe in the system. They're starting to what's the word I'm looking for? They're starting to
Gel together.
They're starting to believe really, and buy in. That's what I'm looking. They're really buying into Peterson's system and believing in it, and they're getting better. They could give Dallas a run for their money this week. I mean, I watched them when they played the Commanders, and they were a tough team. They played good. They played very good. They could have, would have, should have won that game. They're a tough team. And that coach is a very good coach. So yes, I see, the Jaguars, making some good draft picks, bringing in a good free agent or two. And yeah, they could very easily be contenders next year and the year after. Easily.
That same head coach that you said is the same head coach that put Wentz over Nick Foles.
Yeah, but people sometimes learn from their mistakes. He couldn't do that with Trevor Lawrence.
Never know. Who's the backup for the Jags? Anybody?
I don't know. I know at the beginning of the year they had who's the Jesus lover? Tim Tebow. They had Tim Tebow.
He was on the team?
He was switched to tight end. Yeah, he was switched to a tight end. He lasted
Yeah,
in the.
well,
He was
yeah. I
in,
remember.
like, all the preseason
Went to
only.
training camp as a tight end.
It was only like a week, right?
Yeah, it was a publicity thing to bring in money, basically.
Yeah, I remember like he threw a touchdown to Tim Tebow in like the end zone for one of the practices. It was like one of the most viral videos.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh, poor Tim Tebow. I think he was a better baseball player, honestly.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that.
Right.
He did have one good throw though, which was against the Steelers in the playoffs.
You know who's a good quarterback? We're gonna go into that guy, Mike White. Mike White. He died twice versus the Bills. Poor guy. He died twice, but he plays better. He's getting good, but he had to go get rushed into the emergency room right after the game because he kept going in and out of the locker room during the game. He got injured at least like 3 different times, and they just had to rush him to the emergency room right after the game. But nobody's going to question his toughness after that. He will lay his body on the line. He folded like a chair out there when he got crushed by one of the Bills players. But Mike White, poor guy.
Yeah, he got destroyed. Credit to him for staying in the game and not leaving until after when he went to the hospital. But everything cleared up in the hospital. I think they were worried like he had a broken rib and it might have punctured something, but everything came back good. And they're saying he probably won't play next week because he's going to be in some pain. But hopefully he does because he's on my fantasy team and I have no other quarterbacks. So hopefully he plays.
Better get some more quarterbacks off the waiver wire.
It can't. It's already passed.
He's a fighter. He's a fighter, man. You gotta like Mike White. He's a fighter. He is a gritty guy, and he is definitely a fighter. So I mean, you gotta root for a guy like that. And yeah, man, I hope he does well. I like him. So hopefully he if he takes a week off and kind of rest up and kind of heal up a little bit, and then come on back because I like him, man. He's a good guy.
He definitely learned a lesson. He needs to buy some better rim protectors because a lot of quarterbacks when they walk out, they look like robots. They got so many pads around them. But Mike White, he definitely learned his lesson.
That's like with Tony Romo. when he broke like one of his ribs or something, and he got like almost like it was like a bulletproof shield on his stomach, or yeah. They were showing a preview of it in one of the Sports Center things, and they had like a guy with the shovel hitting him, and it was like, wow, that's what these quarterbacks are wearing to protect themselves. But I don't think anybody's going to that extreme measures the way Tony Romo did, because he was very injured prone. He's still my quarterback though. He was my quarterback. We're gonna move on into the MiniPeach.com's games of the week. Before we go to the games of the week, we're gonna hear a word from our sponsors, MiniPeach.com. Minipeach Framing Designs and Gift Shops is worldwide on their websites, www.minipeach.com. That's www.minipeach.com. They offer something for everyone in their gift store. They have so many gift ideas, including baby items, home decor, garage signs, gift for kids, candy, Nintendo items, Harry Potter, Sailor Moon, frames, bereavement items, gnomes, pet items, canvases, art-free walls, and more. They even stock items for every season, including Valentine's Day, Easter, Halloween, and Christmas. They even have gift ideas for Mother's Day and Father's Day. Shop www.minipeach.com with promo code JJ10 for 10% off your entire store purchase. Support small business with Minipeach. That's www.minipeach.com. You'll find something for everyone on your store list. The gift shop with somebody every for minipeach.com at promo code JJ10 and check out for 10% off your entire store purchase. Hey guys, this is a production of the J&J Media, brought to you by Minipeach Framing Designs and Gift Shops. Alright, welcome back. That was our sponsor at Minipeach.com, as we're going to go into the Minipeach.com games of the week. First game off we got is the Thursday night game, 49ers versus the Seahawks. It's a big game for the Seahawks to keep their playoff hopes alive still. But this is also a big game for the Cowboys as well, because if the Seahawks lose, that clinches the playoff wild card for them automatically. But, Clashin, who we got in this game?
Niners.
Next.
I know that the Niners are kind of banged up. They're playing in Seattle. I'm gonna go with Seattle on this one. I think Seattle's gonna fight for their playoff spot here.
Yeah, they will be in Seattle, and they got a pretty tough crowd to go over there and win. Next, my pick. I'm gonna have the 49ers. That's who I'm gonna pick. Next up, we got the Dolphins versus the Bills. It's a rematch versus division rival. The Dolphins took the first matchup at home, but now this is going to be real cold up in Buffalo. It's predicted to have 4 to 7 inches of snow for this game. Clashing?
Yeah, that's gonna. I don't know. It might hurt both teams because both teams aren't really known for running. But yeah, I'm gonna go the Bills just because they have a better defense, and I'm gonna call Tua a fraud. I'm gonna go Bills.
Yeah, he has been very fraud-like lately. I had so much MVP hopes and talks for him, and it's kind of embarrassing at this point. I've defended this guy.
Open guys.
It's embarrassing. I defended this guy for MVP and possibly a Super Bowl, and he's out here playing like this. Oh,
I
man.
mean, he put the body on the line, but he's missing a lot of throws.
He's putting his brain on the line, but I think his brain's scrambled from the previous hits that he's took. It's starting to take a toll on him.
Like his coach Mike McDaniels was joking with him on the sideline. His technique is trash. I'm going with the Bills on this one, easy.
I agree. I'm gonna go with the Bills on this one as well. As we move on to the next game, Lions versus the Jets. Possibly no Mike White, but we got Jared Goff, and it's gonna be in New York. Shady?
Give me the Lions, baby. Give me the roar of the Lions with this one.
All right, we got the Lions on Shady next.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Lions. They win this game, they're in the playoffs. I'm gonna call it now.
Oh, we still got a lot more football after this, but yes, this will help their playoffs chances. So I'm gonna go with the Lions as well. Next game, we got a rematch almost back to back because Washington's coming off a bye week. It's going to be the Giants versus the Washington Commanders again. But they had a tie 2 weeks ago. Will it be a tie again, or will the Giants or the Washington Commanders come out of this clashing?
Washington.
Washington it is.
Yep, I'm going with Washington also. All the players, Jonathan Allen, they're all calling for the fans to show up for this game. They're well rested. They've been studying the Giants for several weeks now. They're going to come out well rested. They're going to have the fans behind them for once. For once, they'll have the fans on their side in their home stadium. I'd take the Redskins on this one.
Yep, looks like it's going to be a clean sweep. I might have the Redskins on this one as well. As we move into our final game of the MinutePeach.com games of the week, going to have the Titans versus the Chargers. Take it away.
I mean, the Chargers, they look much different now that they have all their receivers back. Maybe the Titans are. I'm going to go with the Chargers, actually. Yep, Chargers.
Chargers.
I agree with Clash, and I'm going with the Chargers on this one. They're fighting for a playoff spot. The Titans are kind of doing their own little nosedive. I'm going with the Chargers on this one.
And this is where the lone wolf changes. I'm going to go with the Titans on this one. I think they're going to bounce back from their previous 2 losses that they've had, pretty embarrassing losses, and they're going to get that run game going back.
You think they're going to be able to stop Mike Williams and Keenan Allen?
I think they'll stop them all. And that social media quarterback they got over there.
Oh, man. Hey, that social media quarterback is better than Tua.
Yeah, currently yes. But I'm gonna go with the Titans on this one. They're gonna bounce back. The standings I have is through. I didn't update the picks from last week, but this is from episode 11. This is after episode 11. So Shady is in the lead currently with a record of 13, 10, and 1. Clashin is in second with a record of 17, 20, and 1. And I'm in last place with a record of 16, 21, and 1. So Shady has the upper hand with the 562 win percentage. Clashin has a 560 win percentage. I have a 400. Well, Clashin has a 460 win percentage. I have a 434 win percentage. All because Shady has lesser games than us. That's why he's better.
It's less games, but I still have a winning percentage.
Oh well,
Yeah,
it probably changed once I get them updated. I'm pretty sure you lost all your games last week.
Because we did. Who did? I picked the Raiders. We had Raiders, Rams. We had Jets, Bills. I'm pretty sure
Raiders and Rams. We took that game off.
we threw it out. So it was Jets, Bills. And
Jets,
I'm pretty
Bills.
Sure.
49ers and
Bills.
Bucs.
And then Eagles, Giants. So we all picked the Eagles. I'm willing to bet. Maybe Shady picked the Giants. Who knows?
No,
I think I picked the Giants.
I mean, the Dolphins versus the Chargers. That was the tough one because I feel like we all probably picked the Dolphins.
Yeah, we
all picked the Dolphins, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty bad week for us, I think. Totally.
I wasn't aware Keenan Allen was coming back in this game.
Yeah,
I didn't think he was going to play like trash, but hey.
Anyways, that wraps up our MinutePeach.com games of the week. Any final thoughts and opinions going into this week of football?
This is just my opinion, but this is when the season gets fun and the Cowboys fall apart.
It's where the season gets fun. It's going to get exciting, and playoff time's around the corner. So we're going to see who's in and who's not. And on a side note, that for Heat 5 Hall of Fame is horse shit.
Hey, I was on there for a week. I was a Hall of Famer longer than JWoww. I have the proof. I'm gonna say.
Oh, guess what? I had more votes than you by like times 3.
Yeah, because you campaigned.
Yeah, either way.
I had to campaign.
I had to throw it in there. Just because I wanted to say horse shit one more time.
Yeah, it was horse shit. I had a campaign because I had a whole league against me, basically. And even our own sponsor, if you're listening, Innotown, you fucking... I'm not going to say it on here, but that was a bad move on your part.
Going against us. He was my teammate, too. I sent him so much help, and he's going to go... Oh, well, he didn't go against me. He probably voted for me.
You had all of B League against you. I pretty much, like, I would say almost all, if not all, almost all of B League, if not all of B League.
We're gonna have to get him on the show next week and discuss this. Why he didn't want to vote first.
I think we're going to tell our fans here. I think we're going to have McLevin on the show next week because that's going to be the Cowboys versus Eagles preparation.
All right, so little spoiler here. So Shady's gonna pick the Cowboys. I'm gonna pick Shady's gonna pick the Eagles. I'm gonna pick the Eagles. Wild's gonna pick the Cowboys, and McLevin's probably gonna pick the Eagles. Or maybe he'll twist it and go with the Cowboys. You never know with him.
Okay, but still, we could have good insights with everybody. We could predict the picks all we want.
It's going to be a 3v1 here this next week.
Okay, cool. It doesn't matter. We're bringing in our buddy, our previous co-host,
Our star player.
Our star player, and it's like Aaron Rodgers Tuesdays. We're going to get him on the show, and we're going to talk some Cowboys versus Eagles. This is a game that everybody's been looking forward to. I can't wait for next episode. I've been wanting to talk about this Christmas Eve game. Everything's been leading up to this game, and where everybody could stop talking about common opponents and all this and that, and how many points they won here, or who struggled here, or who's embarrassing there.
I want to say this. I was really hyped up about this game. It was going to be the game of the year, but after the Cowboys had that embarrassing win last week, I don't even think it's going to be hyped up as much anymore.
Oh yeah, it will.
It's huge.
It'll be hyped up. It'll be hyped up.
It'll definitely be hyped up, and it's Christmas Eve. It's the time of giving, and the Eagles will be giving us a win.
Up interceptions.
No.
Eagles will be giving left and right. So they're gonna punch them in the mouth. It's put up or shut up time.
Well, just know I'm going to be at the game, and I'm going to be enjoying my Christmas Eve there. So I'm going to have...
Yep. You'll be there listening to bells, and I'll be sitting on the couch with food, watching the game in peace.
I'm gonna get drunk. I'm going to be one of the annoying Cowboys fans. Let me tell you, when I was at the Texans-Cowboys game this past weekend, I had the most annoying fans around me. I had a Cowboys fan which would judge every single play that they would play. Like, if they wouldn't get, like, a first down 10-yard run, it's like, what the hell are we doing? And there was another Texans fan right next to me. This lady, the only Texans fan probably in a mile next to me, had this cowbell, kept ringing it every single time. It got her so annoying, and I had a headache, and I'm like, oh my God. And then towards the end of the game, when the Cowboys finally sealed it off, and I was looking, I was like, ring that damn bell. And she was ringing it. It was good times. I really enjoyed that game. I mean, not the first 58 minutes, but the last 2 minutes. That was a time to remember.
Enjoy that game more than the fourth quarter of the Colts game?
Yes, I don't think I've never been that excited in my life. I was like, because you have all this amped up anger, and it's like, oh, we should have blown them out, but then now we got to put this out of the fire, and they put it out with the 98-yard drive, and to seal it off with the interception at the end. It just, I didn't want to win that way, but if you're going for excitement and everything, that was the game to go to. That was probably the most exciting game I've ever been to. Finish, not total game, but finish. It was a very crazy finish.
Better than Bills Chiefs playoffs last year?
No, I'm saying going to witness the game, like actually being at the game. Out of all the Cowboys games I've been to, that was probably the most exciting finish I've ever been to.
Okay, the Cowboys only. Well, I've only ever been to 3 Cowboy games, so.
Well, next week we'll talk up the Christmas Eve game.
We'll talk it up big time. That may be probably the only topic we talk about next week, honestly. But we're going to wrap this up. Thanks for coming on the show, and we're going to be back next week. It's going to be a big show. We got a big guest coming on, and we'll see you next week. Hey guys, this is a production of the J&J Media, brought to you by Minute Peach Framing Designs and Gift Shops.